Yeah, that's cool. 2, 1, 2. Could you just give us a quick 1, 2, please, Orlando?
1, 2, 1, 2.
Lovely. Right, we good to go?
Yes, sir.
Lovely. Hello and welcome to Off the Beaten Track podcast. And joining me today via the means of the internet and a Zoom chat is Orlando Weeks. Hello.
Hello.
This is weird because we've not seen each other for probably 10 years, maybe?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the time since I've last seen you, the Maccabees have split up and you've put out music and you're about to put out new music. What else has been happening?
Yeah, that's, I mean, in terms of work, that pretty much sums it up. There was, after Maccabees, there was, I did a record with a book called The Gritter Man, which is, which was a kind of homage to all those Raymond Briggs beautiful things that he did, and meant that I got to work with Paul Whitehouse, who is the voice of the Gritter Man. So we made a record with him as the character voice, which was such a pleasure. And then since then I've been trying to finish, and now have finished, and this new record comes out on the 12th of June.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've heard 2 tracks from it that are on Spotify. Is that all that's available at the moment?
Yes, that's it at the moment. And I realised I should have sent you the record. I'm sorry. I will send you it after this.
All right, mate. Okay.
Yeah, I should have sent it to you. But yeah.
So we met like way back through Matthew Horn, who was a mutual friend, and at the time, I think the first time I met you, the Maccabees played a secret gig at the launch of Matt and I's club XFM 333. Can you remember? That was a long time ago, man.
No.
And,
I remember more that occasionally you would pay me too much money to do very bad DJing.
the Queen of Hoxton.
I sort of half felt that we were going to that you were going to get me on this podcast just to say that you want some of that money back.
No, you're good, mate.
I mean, you'd be entitled to it. So, but yeah, as I think that was a it was a good time being in the band, because we'd do all sorts of funny gigs, and there was a bit more of a Wild West kind of, you'd sort of turn up and play, and you weren't really sure what you were going to be getting into, and meet all sorts of people that have sort of in some way or another stayed part of our lives, and that was fun. So
bringing it up to speed, how have you found the sort of the bizarre time that we're finding ourselves in at the moment, lockdown? Has it helped you with your creativity? Have you found more time to create stuff, or?
I have found it quite hard to. I thought what I would do is start making some new music, and to be honest, a combination of the just feeling I couldn't get my head into that gear at all. I think also I'm in that the period of in the run up to the release of a record where there is quite a lot of bits and pieces need doing, and for me to really get my head into gear in terms of making new stuff, I can't multitask, so it needs to be that or nothing. So I've sort of shelved that for a bit, and I'm not giving myself a hard time about it. And I am working on like the video for the next single, and doing lots of interviews, and my first podcast with you, and all sorts. Yeah.
I'm honoured, mate. Your first one's with me. That's lovely, mate. All right. Well, the podcast, it starts the same every time, Orlando, and I kick things off by asking you, what is the song with the greatest ever intro?
Well, I found this was like the hardest one, The others all felt more instinctive, but this I had to really think about. Are people allowed more than one?
You can have some honourable mentions, mate.
Okay. Well, I remember one of the things actually I used to play when you had booked me, because I felt like it sounded great loud, was I Can't Stand the Rain, the Ann Peebles version.
Yeah.
And I still think that actually, in terms of intro, is so good. Like, it's totally recognizable from the first moment. It feels unlike anything else. I like that it has a sort of nod to the theme of the song, or the kind of the lyric of the song, that kind of raindrop sound. The sound itself, I listened to it today actually, and it feels so weirdly contemporary. Like, it feels like it would fit very happily in anything that's anything contemporary, anything from today. So and this is like early 70s, mid 70s.
Yeah.
So I love that. I find it hard not to choose Pixies, Where's My Mind?
Yeah.
Just as in terms of epic and sort of weirdness as well, because it starts with
Stop.
no, because it does one of those high vocals, one of the Kim.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it does one high Kim vocal, and then it does stop.
Yeah.
Jack Black says stop, and then it does like a weird tape rewind thing. I think I said Jack Black. I mean,
you did say Jack Black. I know you meant Frank Black.
Yeah. Get that? Those two, so interchangeable. No, so and then, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's not really answering your question. So I'm flim-flamming between.
So, well, I want to ask you then in regards to intros, which I always ask this question to 5 musicians on the podcast. Now, obviously, I can see a vast difference in the first music you put out way back to what you're putting out currently. But what I want to ask you is your approach to intro in music. Has that changed, not just as you evolved as an artist, but has that changed in the way that it's evolved in the way that people listen to music as well? What are your considerations with introductions and structuring songs now? It's a long-winded question there, but you get where I'm going with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm trying to think. In a way, I think that the song is more often than not is sort of dictates that. So if the song is kind of to the point and trimmed and has no fat, then usually that's what you want at the start. And but if it's a long and winding atmospheric thing, then you have the sort of luxury of space because that's what the song dictates. I think intros and outros are usually the bit where I feel like you have a bit more room for maneuver. If you've got to that point in writing a song, you feel like the song can hold its own weight, and then you're just trying quite hard not to ruin it or put people off before they've even got to the bit that you like.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Orlando, for track 2, I'm going to ask you what the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you.
Well, this is, I don't know what other people say. I remember in our family car, so when I was little and we'd be driving wherever, my parents didn't really listen to music much. There would be a lot of news programs, and I guess that would be Radio 4. So it'd be, the news, and then Question Time and those kinds of things. Lots of stuff with one of the Dimblebees. And, but so I remember feeling like there was a radio program that still goes, I think, although is it Nicholas Parsons that does it? The Just a Minute? Do you know that radio program?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was always this kind of the light relief between, like, as a kid, it's mind-numbingly boring listening to the news or to people talk about the news. Like, how you've just heard the news, how can you want to hear other people talk about what, anyway. So that coming on, and that radio show starts with the minute waltz. So he always, I think Nicholas Parsons would always say, and as the minute waltz fades away, and then he would sort of welcome you into the program. So I suppose I was thinking that in a way is my earliest memory of, and the emotion was relief.
Oh, really?
Just thinking, oh, last we've got to the end of the news, or it's like it would come on after the Archers or something, and you'd think, oh, I can get into this, because you'd have like Paul Merton and just these. It was funny, and it was clever, and it was a break from the news. So I'm going to go with the minute waltz.
And for relief, that's brilliant. I've never ever had that on this podcast. That's a solid answer, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
I worried that it was a cop-out.
No, I'm liking that. So where was home then? Where was you born?
I was born in South London, in Clapham, at St Thomas's, actually, which is Waterloo.
So aside from like the journeys in the car with the radio would be on, what about at home? Was there music on at home at all?
Not especially, no. I mean, we'd have. I feel like we had almost the only bit of music I remember us having was the 4 cassette box of the Beatles at the BBC, which was great. I remember it really well. But it's and there was classical music. My parents would play classical music, so but nothing that felt like it was. The Beatles felt like they were their own thing. They were sort of separate from music, they were just an entity. And then classical music felt like a long way away from what me and my brothers, it didn't feel like it was for us. So, not really. Not.
So, well, to get on to sort of you finding your way in music, I guess, and getting turned on to new things. And for track 3, Orlando, I'm going to ask you the song that reminds you of your time at school.
Well, there was a lot of garage around, but I remember that the record and the music. My answer, anyway. Sorry, I'm rambling. Was
that's what podcasts are all about, mate. Ramble away.
Lauryn Hill, X Factor.
Oh, what a lovely record!
Yeah, from the Miseducation record. I loved her. I loved Fugees. The score was almost, I think, one of the first records I ever bought with my own money, with like my pocket money. Lauryn Hill was the first gig that I went to. The proper.
Oh, really?
I ever went with my friend from school. We went to Wembley Arena on the Tube, and these amazing women sort of recognised that we felt a bit out of our depth and totally took us under their wings. And it was amazing. And she had about 25 wardrobe changes.
Yeah.
But it was all good. And but yeah, I just I loved that record and I loved that song. And it was around the time, I think I must have been like 14, 15. And so I remember asking my mum what reciprocity meant. Like I had a really vivid memory of hearing a lyric properly like that and thinking, I don't know what that means. But go and ask someone that does.
So did you enjoy school?
I bits and pieces. Yeah, I felt like the bits that I enjoyed, I really enjoyed, and the bits that I found tricky, I found really tricky. It was.
What bits did you enjoy?
I loved anything that put me in the art department. I loved English. I seemed to get good English teachers, and that meant that was a real pleasure, because I'm not a natural reader really, but I enjoyed the dissecting bits and pieces. Yeah.
So was you a creative kid then?
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean, is the sciences and the maths and I really struggled with, and but you know, I think I remember really clearly leaving school and my first week in art school afterwards in Camberwell, being just the relief of that experience and feeling like, sort of feeling like my people, you know, like it was.
You found your tribe.
Yeah, I guess so. But being kind of gobsmacked by that, because I really had no idea that that's what I would feel when I left school, was this kind of kinship, and suddenly being arty wasn't it wasn't being slung at you in a negative way, and if anything, I was the least arty, and I loved it.
So was your creativity, aside from, you know, people throwing it at you, like in regards to the school itself, was it encouraged?
Not especially. I think it was, not especially.
Okay. What did you want to be when you was at school?
Well, when I was about 10, a black cab driver asked me my name, and I said my name was Orlando, and he said, "Oh, so you'll be a writer." So ever since I was 10, and I assumed being 10 that meant of children's books. So that's what I thought I would be from then. And he wasn't far off, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the first record you bought from a record shop?
Well, like I said, I think I bought the score probably from Woolworths or something. But the first vinyl I bought was from Resident Records in Brighton when I got to university, and I bought Nick Drake, 5 Leaves Left was the first vinyl I bought, and I took back to the halls of residence, and I put it front and center so that people knew I was serious. Yeah.
I used to do that when I had people come around my house. I'd have like a sort of stack of my records all on the floor. I'd, like, depending who was coming round, I'd choose which one to put at the front.
Yeah.
Just wearing your colours on the sleeve, and it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a wonderful first album to buy.
Well, I think that was one of the great things about going to Brighton, was that I felt comfortable in my skin enough to start knowing that, and I'd started really writing music by then, and there was it was just a big old class of in that first year, so there was lots of people all listening to different things, and you could dip in and out of other people's what other people were listening to, but Nick Drake, so Nick Drake and Joy Division, and quite early on, that was like the beginnings of like Block Party came out quite soon after that. Like, so there was, I remember they were the kinds of things that, like you were saying, you would take that record and you might put it at the front.
Yeah.
To make sure that people that came up and borrowed something left with the right impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And so, you know, to touch on the Maccabees briefly, how did you deal with the point when, for me, when I saw, you know, seeing you around the time of like the second album, the third album, and suddenly you're becoming this much bigger band. Like, no, like knowing you like a little bit, you're quite a reserved, quite a quiet guy. Like, you know, that's how I see you anyway. And I just wondered how you found and how comfortable, you know, you are with doing things like this and being, you know, having to do press and stuff for the new album and how it was then, and just wondering how you deal with being in the limelight. Are you comfortable with that?
It's not. I'm not brilliant at it. I think that's the problem, is that I don't think quick enough, and I'm not. I second guess what I'm about to say too often, which means that you'll probably this will be the podcast that you do that has the most sort of pregnant pauses. But and also I was in a band with Felix for so long.
Yeah.
And Felix is he's so good at that. He understands and he knows. He's very, yes, here we go. He can just, he's very confident that he knows what he's going to say, and he knows that what he's going to say is what he wants to communicate. Whereas everything I say, halfway through saying it, I'm fairly sure that I'm going to misrepresent what I'm actually thinking.
Do you like that about yourself?
No. I would like to be really concise and not waste people's time as much as I do. But Fee has gone on to have he does a lot of radio presenting.
Got a podcast.
Got a podcast. And if you're around someone that able,
yeah.
Because I was the singer in the band, the request would be that I was there too, but usually Fee handled that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Track 5, Orlando. The song that soundtracked your year's clubbing.
Well, again, this would have been Brighton, and it was. Anyway, the song is "House of Jealous Lovers." I think.
What a great record!
It's an amazing, and I think at a time when it was an introduction to all sorts of other music. It led on to listening to things like Battles, and it just felt very separate from everything else, and it sounded amazing just before kick out time, audio on the seafront, it was, and it would get requested 3 times a night.
Yeah.
I mean, not by me, but like you'd hear it 3 or 4 times every time you were out. So yeah, I that reminds me of getting very beery sleeves from trying to hold a pint whilst everyone starts jumping. So, like audio and what was the other one? The Pav Tav.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there are a bunch of those kinds of nights in.
So, what did you want from a night out? What did you want from clubbing? Are you one of them people that can let yourself go and just dance?
You'll be
the reason I asked that is just because you said that you second guess what you say, so you're very aware of what you're saying, and it's like, are you aware of, like, can you relax when you go out? Can you just have a dance? And I guess this is before people might be going, oh look, that's Orlando from the Maccabees.
Yeah, I think I was. I would definitely jump around a lot. I don't think it was dancing, but they'd be good nights, and they'd be sweaty little rooms and really cheap beer. Snakebite was
wonderful,
ever present. Yeah, and then you'd, it would be time, and you'd try and figure out whether you were going to risk a dodgy burger. There was a 24-hour calf. There's and you'd go and have an egg burger. There's a friend of ours who's still called Egg Burger because of the walk back. But she's happy with that. Anyway, yeah. So it was, yeah.
Okay, for track 6, a favourite song from an artist from your home county.
Oh, so yeah, like I said, I grew up in Clapham, and I had to check. I'm still not entirely sure what county that's in, but I think it's the county of London. But so I thought, but actually, I figured Clapham itself has a song, essentially called "Up the Junction" by Squeeze.
Oh.
And that's another example of Fee. Fee is sort of responsible for for large parts of my musical education, and he knew that I loved Billy Bragg, and he said, well, because a lot of the Billy Bragg songs that I love would be sort of story songs, and I don't think there's really a better story song than Up the Junction.
As I'm looking at you now, just there is my Squeeze set list framed on my wall, and next to it is my Billy Bragg mug.
I've got a Billy Bragg set list that he signed for me that says, Orlando, love gets dangerous.
Oh.
Yeah, which is good, right? That's anyway, yeah. So I just think that song is
it's perfect.
It's really perfect. It
hasn't got a chorus.
No. It hasn't got a chorus, and it's one of the saddest stories.
Heartbreaking.
Just the after it all starts falling apart, she's now with a soldier. There's something about that because his drinking's got bad, and she's found security in the arms of a soldier, so that you sort of feel like there's no comeback from that. Like it's and she's found protection, which she felt vulnerable. You know, it's so tragic. And then there's a line in that he says towards the end of I'm going to get it wrong. But it says, I feel there's something missing, and I'm asking for forgiveness, but
begging's not my business.
And it's just, it sounds like so many people I know.
Yeah.
That pride and how damaging that can be,
and how stupid it can be.
Stubbornness, you know. Yeah, stubbornness more than pride. And I just it's a beautiful, beautiful song.
And the flip side of it is super pop, and the melody's really upbeat, and obviously the nature of the song's so tragic, but perfect balance.
And even the video for that, with them all in, just like how I feel like people used to be much better at just having 7 or 8 people sat on different bits of a kitchen surface looking good.
Yeah. It's missing in music, mate.
Yeah, you can't do that now.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, that song could quite easily be one of the greatest intros ever as well.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay, last song, Orlando. You get to play DJ again. I'm not paying you this time. But yeah, you get a chance to turn someone onto something, and it's a song that many may not know that you would like them to hear.
So I'm a big fan of Arthur Russell, and he's been really kept me very good company, and has been a big influence on the music I'm making now. And I'm sure lots of people, will have heard of Arthur Russell, but maybe they wouldn't have heard the newest record that his estate has released, which is called Iowa Dream, which came out at the end of last year. And on that, I think it's the first song on there is a song called Wonder Boy. And it's I find it really hard to listen to that and it not immediately lift my mood. And I think that is an extremely powerful thing for a piece of music to be able to do without it feeling sentimental or having that emotion sort of synthesized somehow. So yeah, I for anyone that hasn't heard that is interested in Arthur Russell or wants something that might make them smile, I think that's a good one.
Wonderful. So the album is out
on June the 12th. A Quickening. That's what it's
wonderful.
Called. Yeah.
I'll tag you in all of this, and I'll put the website links and stuff where people can buy it on all the gubbins when I put this out. Orlando, it's been lovely to see you again.
Really
it's been way too long, mate.
And congratulations on the podcast. I've listened to a bunch of them. It's a really it's nice to go through things and it not be necessarily what you need to listen to now, but just to analyze things from these angles it's a pleasure. It's been fun. Thank you,
Orlando. Thank you very much. Right, let me just